wait, hold on, Pedro. Hey everybody, we'll be with you shortly. I can't talk to you right now, Jack. Good morning, everybody. I see even with offloading some of the stuff here today, I'm still having, it's Monday, technical problems Monday, and that's actually because it's Tuesday. The system thinks it's last week. Oh, everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to DYOR Live. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media universe. So glad to be hosting another episode of this great show. There's Pedro. Can't tell if it's Pedro or some girl over his head. Anyway, welcome to DYOR Live here on the DYOR Media Network. Coming to you from Chicago. It's my first day back at the setup here, and of course everything is gone haywire to start here. Hopefully let us know if you can hear us okay. I had to punt and do a last minute audio setup. But anyway, let's get this show started. Pedro, welcome to the show.
Thank you, my friend. How you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, Pedro Garcia, the crypto chart analyst. Let me see if I can get rid of this music, get the volume set up correctly here, and see what the heck is going on here today. Pedro, it is Tuesday, February 18th. Tuesday. I was off yesterday because of, as our Telegram room viewers know, getting the old guy inspection. All went well with that, I might add, and I had the best sleep of my life last night.
Awesome.
I can now say, Pedro, that I am a fentanyl user. That is one of the drugs they give you when they put you not totally out, but when they lightly put you out. They give you fentanyl. And I said, oh, great, I can go live on the street corners in San Francisco now. And they said, well, it's not that kind of fentanyl. It's a little different.
Okay. Hey, at least I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, most people would die for that stuff, so.
Matt says my mic is not coming through too well. Well, let me check my mic here.
Yeah, it sounds a little scratchy. That's what I was saying.
Let me see if I got the boost up here or something like that. Let's do minus 10.
What's up,
here.
guys? While you're doing that, let me go ahead.
Let's see if I got the boost up here or something.
Let's see. What's up, Matt Rhodes? Good to see you. Crypto Mike, good to have you in the house, brother. You guys are rocking the mic. I know it's been a minute. Tom has been super busy. And whenever I go live, I feel like I look like a complete crazy guy, even more so than usual, because I don't have Tom to rein me in. And since I've done this now enough times and watched my own videos and my own crazy antics, I can sit there and be like, you know what? It's good to have Tom here to be like, bro. Going crazy over here.
Shining my ass is always a good thing.
No, this is not even a shining of an ass. This is legitly a good. So he's the yin to my yang, and hopefully I am the yang to his yin. So I appreciate Tom. And you know what? From now on, when Tom is gone, I know Tom doesn't know this, but I'm gonna let you guys know. I need to start coming on, but I need to have 30-minute videos. Instead of 2-hour videos, simply because one, I go on to crazy stuff, and I need to keep it if one thing about me, if I have you have 2 minutes, I give myself, when I work by myself, like 30-minute segments, and you need to get this done, you need to get this done, and it keeps me on track. Tom is my timer.
I also keep you in the center of the picture, which you tend to move around.
Why is it not? That's so weird. It should be.
It's because you don't have your camera in a fixed position. You move your camera every day.
Oh, you are right. Okay, maybe Maybe I'll pay for a real camera. All right, so that should be good. But if you look over to my left, or excuse me, to my right, you can see some numbers here. And we'll talk about those numbers in a minute. But want to shout out to Jesus, the Lord and Savior. Good to have you again. Thank you for rising, or actually coming back for the 20th time at least. What's going on? All my stuff bleeding. Yes, that is a good thing. We want bleeding because bleeding is what is going to make you money. We've been talking about this stuff for a while. We've been saying I expect Bitcoin and everything to go down. So we're going to talk about some of that cool stuff. No Raider fans in heaven. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. As you guys all know, I'm a Raiders fan. So, Lord, Jesus, Lord and Savior, just he's a Niners fan. So I can't get along with that. I know the red and gold, totally biblical. Totally biblical, but I'm a silver and black baby. That's it. That's
Pedro,
it.
that
That's
scary girl above your head is I don't
Scary.
think that's a bad background is working there.
You're right. Let me go ahead. And I was gonna do it. Let me do it again. I'll change it up here in a second. But I want to bring this up here because I think it's super important just to pay attention to. It's just this idea that is one, guys, if you could do us a quick favor and hit that like and subscribe button and share button, that would help out with us so much. Two, also leave a comment in the sections over here. Whether you're on Rumble, on the X platform, and or you're playing with Grok and all that cool stuff, it doesn't matter. Just out there connecting with us, letting us know, allowing people to say what's up. We appreciate it. Out to the 4 people who are watching us, thank you so much. Over on Rumble, we have 19 altogether, so that rocks the mic. So we appreciate you guys so much. But please hit that like, subscribe, and share button. That helps.
Welcome, Extreme Car Care, coming to us from Manchester.
What's up, my peoples? Okay, so now let's jump back here to Bitcoin here real quick because Bitcoin has been really fun. And I've actually been looking at Polymarket. Now, us as Americans, we cannot trade Polymarket. So I honor that and I don't. But hopefully that goes away here real soon with David Sachs and some of the stuff they're going to bring to the table. But in the same sense, I've been looking at Bitcoin because, I talked about last week that I expected us to see a sell-off. Yet we went sideways the whole entire week. And so I was like, okay. So that whole entire sideways pattern then sets
Hey,
up.
Pedro, you got your screen split or something here.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Let me go ahead. I forgot about that. I've been doing this. I love this. I love the side panel stuff that's actually going on. And I just don't want it to mess up. Oh, this is going to mess up. This is going to mess up.
Hey, Seuss, says anyone buying some ETH at this price? I think people should be asking anyone buying Solana at this price. We'll get into Solana a little bit here.
Oh, man, I'm absolutely loving it, dude. We've talked about, I was on, what was the guy's name? I forget his name.
Jim, Bob, Frank, Bill, Steve.
No. He's on X. I go on his spaces every now.
Jake.
Huh?
Jake, Crypto Banter. Crypto Newman, Crypto Frank, Crypto Jim.
Crypto Frank, bro, what's up? Either way, I went on to a few of these guys' X platforms, and I've said multiple times, I said, listen, I expect Solana to come down. And I know we're seeing it kind of going sideways. And I've gotten some pushback, normally in the very beginning when I come on those shows, and I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm like, look, we're showing weakness there. Now, you guys know who typically watch me that I'm pretty clear on what I expect, and I give pretty clear setups so that it could. Do you guys have me?
Pedro, we're just seeing you, not your screen.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Boom. Let's go ahead and PTC. Okay. So I typically make it pretty clear what I kind of expect the market's going to do, right? Like I'm not, all right, guys, if we go, like I say, okay, if we get above here and we show sellers coming in, right, we should expect it to come back down to this area. I being, you know, when we were talking about Crow with Mr. Alexander, right? By the way, when is he coming back on? Because I got to razz him. It's going to be fun. So, but this idea that us selling off, I said, you know, we were sitting around I think it was 18 cents, 19 cents. And I said, but I expect us to come down here to this area of that 10-cent mark at least. And he's just like, that's crazy. And I go, and I could only hope it's going to come down to that, you know, the 6-cent mark if we do. And so now the reason why I bring up Crow, because it's going to bring something that we're going to talk about here. Now, again, I got to see volume coming in here, but I'm expecting us to see Crow sell off again down to the 6 area. And I'm expecting it to see go pretty well because it's going to allow us to be able to get in. And like I've said before, there are a ton of buyers sitting right here at that 6.5 area and 5.5 area here. And so that idea that we're not going to go down and try to test those areas is crazy. So make sure you're saving up your ducats to be able to buy in at these lower levels. You guys got in at the 10-cent mark, where you're able to buy half or twice as much of what you were waiting for, besides being up at that 18-cent mark. And then in addition to it coming down to that $6 or 6-cent mark would be another area that I'd be looking to buy Crow. Now, you're like, well, Pedro, we were just talking about BTC. I was, because that's an example. We've talked about here, like I've said, with multiple X platforms that I go on and I speak, I'll sit there and say, guys, we're doing, when the broad market is selling off, typically, like it may show tremors in Bitcoin, but it's a tsunami in the small market cap. So if you're sitting around $1 billion, $10 billion, expect to see, when you see Bitcoin sell off, potentially a 2 to 3 ratio where Bitcoin sells off maybe 20%. Well, that coin may sell off 60, 80% sometimes, right? So be mindful of that ratio when you see it. I always say it's about a 3-to-1 ratio, where if Bitcoin moves let's say 10%, then something else should typically move about 30%. So you can gauge how that works. Alrighty, so that's about it in a nutshell. We're seeing Bitcoin sell off. We did not see the sell off last week, unfortunately, but it's looking like it is showing some weakness here. So I'm expecting us again to come test this 91,000 again, to test that 88,000. Now, this is really important. It's Tuesday. So we always talk about, if it sells off during the first part of the week, expect a sell off, a rebound towards the end of the week. So I'm expecting us potentially to see us get above that 96,000 area to clear and give us a big wick area. So that's what I'm looking for. This is where we're starting to see the sell off. As it sells off, many of the altcoins that we're going to be looking at for the Technical Tuesday, it's going to be really important for us to check out where we want to go in and where we want to buy. I've talked about saving your ducats, save your ducats, so when the sell-off comes, we're ready for it, right? I think because there is so much news talking about crypto regulation, especially, oh, I haven't changed that, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and change this back again. I'll make this just looks weird. Where are you at?
All right, Pedro, behind the scenes, I'm trying to get the great graphics machine running. Trying to last minute solve all the normal technical problems we have. The most amazing thing, Pedro, is the other day I was in Toronto and we did the AI Life show, which will be also running tomorrow at 12:30. I did it remotely and it was perfect. There wasn't any issues at all. It was a bang-on, awesome production. And then this morning from the global headquarters here in Chicago, Illinois, at the main computer, it's just an effing disaster. But like I always say, the first day back at the controls, after I haven't used a computer in a while, it's a mess. But I'll have those graphics working for you, ladies and gentlemen. Pedro's looking at Bitcoin right now. And make sure you drop us your questions, and we'll start talking about it.
And also, if you guys could do us a quick favor over on Rumble, hit that like button. That really helps us out quite a bit. If we could have some of our viewers kind of even jump over there and say what's up, that'd be great. Make comments, say what's up. I still love you, Pedro. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jesus. I love you too. You rock the mic. Okay, now we're starting to see Bitcoin really kind of pick up in volume here on the daily. We're seeing the sellers starting to come in and starting to push it down. So I'm excited about this primarily because that means, again, that I get to buy in at prices that are low. Now, as Bitcoin is selling up, we're watching Ethereum really kind of take off. I've talked about us getting below this 2099 area to get below this area of that 1700. But from here, if we get below here, which I expect, we didn't create a higher high here. Okay, so here's the low. Okay, we came up here. It did not create a higher high. The higher high was 4,094. We did not. And so now we're starting to push down here to the next level. And so the next real level here is really down at this level here. Okay, that's this area between 2000 to 1743. Now these areas are good areas literally because you can pick up good amount of Ethereum. We already know that Trump is very much pro Ethereum. He's been talking, his organization's been talking about it and how they want to develop on it. So I think that's really interesting. Also on the back end here, and I think this is actually really smart, is Trump knows he needs money. So if his organization can sit there, and here's the thing, how long is this man going to live? In all honesty, right? Like what's he, 83, 84, Tom?
Who's that?
Trump?
No, he's, I think he's 79.
Oh, that's probably what it is. Yeah, my brain jumped, put 4 years on him. Yeah, I'm sorry. Find out for me real quick. But the reason why I'm saying that is the man is sharp as a tack right now, right? And when he gets out of office, I think he's going to do a lot of stuff for crypto. And so the fact is that I feel like a lot of his organization is focusing on Ethereum and Solana. I don't think that they're
78 years old.
70, that's what it is. Thank you. I don't think it's going to push away. I don't think he's going to fade crypto, and nor do I think crypto is going to fade away. So I think these lower prices here are really great ways to get in at. So I do like it. I'm looking for Ethereum to get down to that 1737 area-ish, but it all depends if it can get below this purple dotted line. This is kind of the line in the sand here for me. If it gets below that, then I expect us to come back and tap this area here between that 1743 to the 1464 area here before we see a leg up at these higher levels. Again, I'm still very much pro Ethereum hitting the 13,000 by the end of the year. I think we're going to see that, and it's going to be a crazy ride. So these lower levels here, I like them. I like them a lot. And additionally to that, remember when you pick up Ethereum, you can liquid stake them, and in that liquid staking, you can accrue a decent amount of what is it? What are they paying right now? Like 4%, 5% at least.
I haven't been following that.
Yeah, it's a good amount, and so I couldn't imagine why wouldn't Trump's crew, because they launch on these platforms, being a part of, they could be part of the liquidity pools that allow them to make money per se. So this is almost like this is my thought process here as I'm looking at this. Now let's check out BNB, because BNB has been really funny here.
Crazy. Memes are coming back to BNB after the Solana implosion.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I thought that was so interesting. So, but what's even more interesting is that even in the midst of the crazy push up of the implosion from Solana, as we're watching it push up here, if you look, and I thought this was really cool, is that one, we're seeing the idea one being the fees going back, because there is not a pump fund on BNB, there's a fee-based system that's coming in, and fees are coming back into the scale of stuff, which I thought was really interesting because we talked about this. I said the only real way to really kind of safeguard a project is literally setting up fees for that project managers or whatever, right? So I just think that was just really, really interesting what we're seeing here. BNB literally selling off to this area we talked about. We actually sold off, came down. I thought we were going to come down to the 400 area, but it found support on that 8-period moving average, or excuse me, not 8, on the 400-day period moving average as we're seeing a push up. But I feel like we're going to at least tap the 567 area here. And then from there, really kind of potentially see it come back down to that 416. So a couple areas that I'd be looking to be purchasing at is on BNB would be the 565 area. I like that area. And then in addition to that, the 414 area I also like. So there's a little bit of areas you can buy and then really see if you can pick up on some cash there. I'm going to remove this here and we're going to actually make a new one right here. Boom. This is where our 200-period moving average is sitting. I would expect some type of movement off of this area here, though. I do think we're going to sell through it, but this area here of the 1616 into the 596 area. This is an area of support. I expect to see some reaction. So in that, we could take a trade, and I'd expect to see something like this within a day or two, whereas we're seeing the sell-off, and then see a reaction, come back up, and see what we will see at the end of the week. But I expect to see in the next month or two us potentially coming down to these lower areas with BNB so that it can push back up. And I think the idea that we're seeing so many meme coins coming back on here with the Milei situation, I think meme coins kind of caught a bad name. And so people are kind of starting to see what's going on with that. So I think there's going to be a little holdout, or at least some type of regulation that correlates with meme coins. And then after that, kind of see it come back. So that's what I'm expecting on a fundamental level from a law standpoint, right? That's kind of like what I'm thinking. So yeah, let's talk about some news here real quick, okay? Do you got a minute to be able to talk? Or
I do. I'm just trying to make some things work better in the background, but let's hit that news.
Yeah. So what did you think about this whole entire situation with Milei? I don't know if our community knows, but there was a coin that was launched this weekend.
Libra coin.
The Libra coin, which is the peso for the Argentinian country, and they
screwed the pooch.
Yeah, they screwed the pooch. And did you watch the CoffeeZilla?
I did not. I did not watch CoffeeZilla about it. I saw that he put one out about it.
Yeah,
but I haven't watched it. All I know is that much like President Trump did, they put out a tweet in his official account about a crypto, and the crypto went absolutely batshit crazy. And then it was revealed that he wasn't involved with the project. And the insiders let me back up. In the Trump coin case, the insiders had tokens that were locked up and not massively concentrated in a couple of insiders' wallets. In the Libra coin, about 8 people owned 90% of the tokens. So when it went smoking high, it went up to $4.5 billion within 10 minutes of launch. They immediately sold and it tanked, causing a disaster. And it turns out, Pedro, if I'm following this correctly, President Milei was not actually involved. He just saw it and said, "Hey, this is cool," retweeted it without thinking, "Oh, I'm going to have a lot of problems."
Actually, no, it's actually not. He's very much involved. He was actually with the organization that was actually launching it. He actually hung out with them.
Come on.
I'm not joking. Yeah. So there was, or I'm going to say hung out with them, but they were kind of in the inner circle. There were things going on that, like, if you go and watch the CoffeeZilla interview, the guy just makes it very clear. Like, look, there are pictures of me and him on Twitter, him posting me. Like, I'm not like some random group. There's, you know, he talked about, dude, my life is in danger. I'm doxxed. Like, it'd be stupid for me. Like, because there's drug cartel, there are dangerous people in both sides of this country and countries around the world, that if this gets screwed up. But he honestly, and he talks about in the interview, like, I thought this thing was going to be amazing. I thought his hope was that he was going to connect with the Trump coin. The people who launched this one also launched Melania. So it's very, like, they're kind of a tight-knit group. Now, these guys are dealing with millions of dollars. They're making a lot of money, but at the same time, they're not, because they're under major scrutiny. And the guy talks about that. He goes, you know, like, he goes, it's a gamble. Like, this is a gamble. And I knew that, but I did not, he basically said he didn't understand why Milei was literally kind of like not like kind of distancing himself away and other people when they all were very much apart. They talked about this. And so he goes, and he just basically talks about how they were what's the word I want to use?
Schnookered?
No, not the one. That's not snookered. That's funny. No, Skype bots were Snipe. Why I said Skype. Snipe bots were really jumping in, and they really got in on it. He goes, we tried to keep the CA as quiet as possible. As immediately as they posted, they came in, they pushed this thing up, and then they sold. And he goes, yeah, there were, like, there's some of these that are kind of inside, but the majority of them are not. And they pushed this up. And he goes, we saw them push up, so we saw it happening, so we sold off as well, because we saw them selling off. So we have about $100 million right now in the kind of, not the dev wallet, but in another wallet, because when they saw the Skypers coming in, or snipers, why do I keep saying Skypers? Same snipers coming in.
Because you're one of the last 6 people on the planet that uses Skype?
What's wrong with that? Skype is amazing. People just don't realize how awesome it is. It's so much easier. Anyways, so on a side note, if you haven't used Skype in years, go check it out, because it's pretty awesome. Okay, back to the same subject here. Okay, so this is the part that I thought was really interesting. So I was listening to, he goes, we still got $100 million sitting here. I haven't spent it. I haven't done anything with it. Like, it's still there. And literally I thought to myself, well, why don't you put it like into like an Ethereum or some form of where it makes some money, right? Like, if I was a part of the organization, and I'd be like, well, why don't you make $100 million is a lot of money, right? That you can make interest
I'll take
off.
it.
Right. So like $5-10 million, like, you could go and buy the chart, just with $5 million, that's like $500,000, bro. $500,000 or $450,000 on a monthly basis that you could buy the chart. And what is that on in liquidity? That would probably be equivalent of maybe 20%, maybe 5 or 6% push that you could sit there and take part of, right? Or imagine just sitting there just being like, all right, well, here's our distribution. We're buying the chart here. It's going to go up. You can decide what you want to do with it. And I think what would happen is, I think people would go buy. Obviously, you would have your snipers that would sell off, but then people would just start. I mean, you can literally have this type of thing for the chart. So this is where the guy goes, if anybody's got any ideas, I think this is what you should do. Well, if anybody knows that guy, tell him, put that money either into a stable coin or some form of system, because $100 million is still a lot of money. Go in, put the money in. Obviously, in doing this, it would be smart for you to give ownership up so that you aren't tied with this, and make it a legal entity that says, we're going to put money into the Libra in this chart. And if you want to hold on to it, you can. And this is the part I would almost say as well. Okay. If you're a Skyping organization, you're sitting there and you're just basically selling off on it, I would say you each wallet that we could track, sit there and like you only have a certain amount you can sell off, right?
Yeah,
Because
a simple vesting schedule.
that's it. Look, and as you take the money that is in from the institutional side, where you're making I hate to use the word dividend off the money, but some form of interest that you can make off of that money to buy back into the chart, that would make the most complete sense to me. You know what I'm saying? And then in addition to that, I would also add an additional fee on the sell. You know what I'm saying? Additional fee where all of a sudden it's like it behooves you to hold on to your coin. And the way I would set it up is like this. I would say, okay, you hold this for X amount of time. At X amount of time, you will not have a fee as long as you're making money, let's say a 1x, let's say, not even say a 1x, but a 2 or 3x where you make a certain amount of money, you have to pay a fee for that in addition to that exit, because we're talking about people within other countries. We're not talking American culture, right? And yes, Milei is, what is it? What is it? He calls himself a narcon, a libertarian. Why am I messing it up?
Neocon?
No, he's not neocon. He's a
Don't say narco.
No, it's all right. Yeah. What is this? What is his political? He's a libertarian, but it's a certain type of libertarian that he is, and for whatever reason, it's not coming to mind.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, in case, because I don't have the graphics machine going on, this is the Libra chart here from Argentina, and as you can see, the launch was a problem. Not a good launch here. You can see. Let me expand it out a little bit here. The launch started right at $2.5 billion somehow. I don't know how they manipulated it to start at $2.5 billion. But
no, it's not that. It's the fact that there was money. There was big money.
Oh yes, there is big money
that was given, that people put money in. So it did start off at a pretty high level.
Yep, and it only 2x'd in market cap. This is this graph is the market cap graph, which is similar to the price graph because it's obviously linked on coins that aren't minted. And it went from here. Here up to here, from $2.5 to $4.5 billion, and everyone's like, "Ooh, this is interesting." It got everyone's attention really quickly because when you hear something say, "Hey, it launched and went to 4 billion or 2 billion," people assume the Solana launches started, a market cap of $1,000 or $20,000, and then it's amazing. They're like, "Oh my God, I got to get on this." The insiders started selling the snipe bots, and as you can see, it was just wreckage. For it. It went way down below, and now we're sitting at a market cap of $300 million. I might say they're still sitting at a market cap of $300. But once I looked at this, Pedro, I looked at once the snipe bots and the insider wallets, and I'll group the snipers with the insiders because they're the wallets that were big at the beginning.
Yeah.
And insiders doesn't mean the president. This chart is all right. I mean,
right.
Once you got out the big drop and the snipe in the middle, this is not a bad, forget the red line on launch day. It's not a bad chart. It went up, it sold off, the people took profits. It went up again, people took profits, but it's higher lows, and it still has $300 million in the project. It's real. Something strange is going on. Maybe you can summarize the CoffeeZilla thing to let us know if is there anything good left in this?
Well, I do. I think there is. I don't think this is a dead project. I think the fact that they have $100 million, I hope that the guy goes through and follows my advice. If somebody could send this to him somehow, clip this little part out, and look, go through, take the $100 million that you have, put it into a dividend yielding platform or whatever, okay? And in doing that, receive income and then buy back the chart. $500,000, $450,000 on a monthly basis without touching the principal is a pretty good push-up.
Good morning, Carmen. Thanks for joining us. Carmen Crypto in the house.
And I think that's really important to be paying attention to, because the reality is this: is the liquidity right now, if we're looking at it, is $70 million. All right, and if you could be infusing into that 500 mil or 500,000, or that's a lot of money coming in.
Well,
I mean, that's what is that's almost 1.2% liquidity coming in on a monthly basis. That could actually really push up the market here. So I think it's just smart to open that up, allow people to be able to trade this. Now, if I'm looking to get in at these levels here, right? Like, where am I going to be looking? It played some really nice.
hold on. I got my screen up here, Pedro. Let me turn mine off. All right, you should be good now.
Awesome. So I like a couple areas here on these. I like this area right here, around that 17 or about around the 176 mil to the 130 mil. I like this area here. It's a pretty good area. We already blew through the supply area here. So we got really one other area of supply that we could be looking at, that we want to be paying attention to before it really could kind of get back up to where it was sitting at. Give me 1 second. Boom. All right, we're going to go right here. Yeah, I heard about this all after, like I was like, dang, it would have been awesome to get in on the first like hour to really play off of this, but yeah, what are you gonna do? But I like this area right here as I'm looking at it, like coming down potentially to this lower level here, kind of the onset of the market here. But also more important, as I'm looking at it, it also is another area to kind of I think this very much could push back up to the 4 or 5 billion easily with what he's trying to do. If Milei just simply says, look, this was an accident, this is what we're going to do, and comes with an ability to be able to put money back into the market, I think, I just had it in my head. Narco freaking. Sometimes my brain likes to go somewhere else, then it brings it back to my mind, but let's go ahead. This idea is that as it's starting to sell off, where is my moving averages? All right, boom. So it's got to get above. There it is. All right, I'm looking at this right now. You can see that 8-period moving average is acting as resistance, but you've got two other areas of resistance that we could sit there and see here, or excuse me, support. This area right here could act as support, as a literally a line to pull stops. So right below here, right below the 257,000 market cap, right? Excuse me, 257 million market cap. This area below here, I expect to see potentially see a buyout or a pushback up. And if it goes even lower here, I then expect to see it go down to that 176 to the 130 million market cap to really play off of this move. And because I like these areas here, so I would so kind of look to be maybe buying at, if you're looking to get in at this token, get below this, buying at below this area right here. Again, not financial advice, but it's what I would do. And then right up in this level here, I'd expect us to see it come back down into this area and then see another push back up. And so if this sticks around, and again, buy in at these lower levels, if it gets back to the all-time high or something that happens there, that could be potentially some big movements, right? Big movements in this market at 10, 20, 30x, right? Especially sitting at the 176 million versus and the 257. I mean, dude, if this thing just goes from 250 mil all the way back up to like, what was it, like 5-point-something billion at the peak, like that in itself was 5 or almost, excuse me, 4 mil. At the 176 mil, that's still a 20+ x at least, right? So these little movements here, put in a couple, 50, 100. I don't think it's going to go away. Pedro has his mind on his money and his money on his mind. That's funny. Good morning, Chumbalos. Carmen Crypto is in the house. ¿Qué pasa, señorita? Orale. Crypto Mike, it's good to have you, brother. And yeah, that's it. Nice. What do we got going on over here at Rumble? We got 5 people watching us. Thank you to you 5 people. Thank you so much. Let's talk about Trump a little
Hold
bit.
on, sorry, I had my mic off there, Pedro. Real quick, a shout out, also a shout out to Akash at Vimeo, who's watching right now.
Nice. Yes.
Akash is technical support for video, and I just asked him a really dumb question that I couldn't figure out, and he's like, "It's the first button on your menu there for your Vimeo interface, Tom." And I was like, thank you, Akash, thank you. Obviously, the problem lies between the keyboard and the user, which is my hand.
Darn that hand not listening to you, man.
Anyway, Pedro, I've just been distracted here a little bit because my laptop here that normally streams the show here, now that I've got things changed up differently, it literally died. A 1-year-old laptop just stopped working, and it doesn't even connect to the internet anymore. And the users probably seamlessly noticed that I pivoted at the last minute and started streaming from another computer, but I had it working great last week. Anyway, it's just the great, we'll call them Winnie the Pooh gods, probably interfering with me today and giving us grief. But Pedro, the last thing I want to say about the Milei thing, at least for today, it may not be the last thing, but the last thing for your conversation that you're having about it. A lot of people, I was checking out the volume, and here you can see it in your little green volume thing here. Bought super cheap down in this range here when it plummeted way down there.
Yeah.
And we're doing that, trying to buy 1% for a few $100 thing. Now, obviously, it would be more for this one because
it's a lot more, but
a lot more. But still, and they made a few X's already.
Buying. Yeah, people are buying this on the low. People are buying this, and if you look, the sell-off areas here are really minuscule compared to the buyers. Look, it bought, sold. You still got a lot of buyers here. A lot of buyers.
Yep.
And look, if you look right here, there's not a lot of selling going on in comparative to the buying. So I do think that this has a lot more life to get in. And you bring up a great point, phenomenal point. Like just absolutely, and the part that's so interesting, I think, is who's buying? Who buys this type of chart here?
More insiders.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't mean like insiders in the sense of like a crypto insider, right? I think insiders like potentially institutions. Like I mean like at Goldman Sachs going, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Even this might be a meme coin. This isn't, at these prices, if it hits, a 10 billion, $20 billion market cap, or let's say this thing, what did Trump get to? 100, what was it, 78 billion?
No, it got to, the price got up into the 70s. I think it was 25 billion.
Or 25 billion, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there. It's something unbelievable.
I mean, at these levels, this thing could take off again. And I think looking at the area and not seeing a lot of buying coming in, it's just kind of a no-brainer to me to sit there and go, or excuse me, not a lot of selling, not buying, excuse me, a lot of selling coming in. It's just kind of a no-brainer to me to sit there and go, yeah, these levels here, they're dead for the average investor, like going, oh, forget it. But somebody else is buying. And I'm looking at this going, So it's, I'm obviously not going to become a millionaire off of it, but I'm going to put in $50, $100 personally, and to see what happens, right? Like we all know, if you go out to eat, you're already blowing $50, and then I crap it out the next morning. So, what? Like this is.
I can attest to that, having just had a colonoscopy.
Yo, by the way, did the doctor only use 2 or 1 finger for you?
I gotta just get a little personal here for a moment for you viewers. I had the old guy colonoscopy yesterday, and I gotta tell you, everyone in my life and family I know, since it was my first one, they're all been like, haha, you got to drink the juice because you got to drink the juice that cleanses you out and all this type of stuff. And everyone is miserable on the, in the restroom there for a day or so. And I was like, I don't know. I worked in Africa, man. I've had some pretty bad shit. And I got to tell you, the procedure to go through to get ready for a colonoscopy is nothing compared to eating lettuce with a poo hands juice on it in Nairobi, Kenya. Nothing. Nothing like that at all. And so I was prepared for this. Even Mrs. Striking was like, what? That's all the pain and suffering you went through? Just everything was fine? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of fine. But I say,
narco-capitalist.
Narco-capitalist, that's it.
That's what I was sitting there going like, I know, it's like the tip of my, all right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all right. So once you work in Africa for a while and you get the week-long, revenge of the ancients over there, then pretty much anything else in your life is easy. Divorce, no problem. I had the Africa revenge, man. No, sorry, you get your arm chopped off in a machinery accident. That's nothing. They can fix that. When you have that for a week, it's just brutal. Anyway, that's your too much information today. The narco-capitalism, Pedro. Good call, bringing that one back.
Yeah, I was popping in my head. I was like, I knew my mind. I just thought my mind wanted it to come back to me. So, all right. So I think what's so interesting here is the man is 100% for free markets. And I think he's smart and we all know that he does like the blockchain. He likes the openness and the transparency of the blockchain, that you can't remove money in and you can't remove money. You can't put money in and out without there being a traceability for it.
Right.
And for me personally, I think every government should be about that, especially with what we're seeing.
Everything on the blockchain. Everything on the blockchain.
Yes. And especially if you're dealing with government taxed funds. I think it's one of those things that if we have the ability to do that, obviously there's going to be a secondary black market, or a secondary market, some type of black market that will be created. But at least in government spending, okay, you cannot have a line item going for $4.7 trillion and not have any designations for it. That to me was absolutely insane. And then in additionally to it, and where I was going to prior with Elon Musk talking about Social Security there's a lot of people that are potentially on it that were paying out that shouldn't be getting it. So I think it's really interesting to see what is actually happening, what we're seeing, and be able to see where the money's going versus, it not.
I got a question for you on that, Pedro. Pedro, how old are you, Pedro?
Me?
You don't have to answer that directly.
Well, I'm 150 years old, though.
Right. You know what? I'm the guy. I'm the guy on the chart who's 360 years old from before the revolution in the United States.
Yeah, no entire. Well, I always thought you were an alien or a vampire.
Everyone says I look young for my age. I'm 360 years old. I'm the guy. Welcome, Brando Commando, to the house on Rumble. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. We're having a fun Tuesday here. We talked about the markets earlier. We're still going to hit Solana, but right now Doge, as in the government Doge, is on our mind stuff. But Pedro, do you have that graphic handy? The chart of the 300-year-old people?
Oh, I do. I can pull that up here. Just give me 1 second. While you're talking about that, and I want you to talk about a little bit just the idea of if you're on it, it doesn't necessarily mean you're receiving income.
Right.
From
But we don't know that yet. We don't know that.
Right,
All we know is that there's a list, and the list is outrageous. But I don't know how many. While Pedro gets ready to pull this up, Pedro, just let me know when you got it up, and I'll switch to your screen.
Okay.
But, ladies and gentlemen, Elon tweeted the other day that this is the number of people with alive in the field of Social Security. And the list is unbelievable. Pedro's about to show it to you. There are people listed on the list being over 300 years old, and millions being over 100 years old. Oh, I'm sorry, over 140 years old and over 130 years old. Now, this list, as far as we can tell, we can't say that these people are receiving payments. But we can say that people are marked alive. And there's all sorts of people on the internet who are defending Social Security, saying, well, maybe nobody reported them dead. Well, after they reach to being older than that really old lady in France, there should be an algorithm that checks the data that says, hey, somebody over the age of 300 is listed on here. Earl Smith, he was a Quaker, came over on the Mayflower. And what it tells me, Pedro, we had this discussion before the show, checking the integrity of data. And many of you people that watch the show are into IT and that kind of stuff. And integrity of data is the most important thing you can have with your data, because all systems are garbage in, garbage out. If you have garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. And it's so simple, because almost all databases run simple data integrity things. The data in this field can only be between 1 and 110 or 140, whatever it is. That's it. Any outlier, and not only that, but anything in the 100-year-old range, if it's more than X% of the population, flag it so we can check on it to make sure it's right. They can't even that's the basics of running a database, is data integrity, and just making sure that the data in any field is valid within a range. Now, if they can't get that one right, just the age of one person, whether they should be alive or dead, think of all the other things they're getting wrong. Think of the things in the tax and the IRS database that are wrong. Think of the things in the databases that keep track of national intelligence issues that are wrong. Just think of the possibilities of what they have effed up over the years and are maybe not covering up, but just like, meh, it's not my job. It's not my job to ensure that nobody is 300 effing years old in the United States. Now, if it comes out, Pedro, if that person is getting checks and it's some mafia dude in Brooklyn. Yeah. Imagine that guy, his friends are going to tap him on the back, say, you scammed them, they scammed them for all these years. Even if it's a typo, maybe they meant to say the person was 31 years old, not 310 years old. I can see that. Well, the data validation should have stopped that.
So I had a friend of mine in junior high. He was into hacking and stuff like that. Like, I remember, and he told me, I remember this. This was nuts. Now explains to you like the area that I grew up in, and we're the sixth stupidest city in the country. Maybe we're not anymore. Maybe we kind of climbed higher, and we're maybe like the 200th or 300th stupidest. Like maybe we climbed in intelligence, but partly it's pulled off of how many people go to college, how many people actually go through. The reason I'm saying this is because my friend who's in junior high literally was like, oh, I tapped into the SSI program and I'm getting checks from them. And I said, wait, what? And he goes, yeah, I'm getting checks for Social Security. And I look and I go, what is Social Security? He goes, oh, that check that old people get? And I said, no. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're a kid. You don't know this stuff. And he goes, my mother basically got denied or something like that. And so what happened was he went in and he just hacked them. Now, granted, this was 1993. Okay. And so he got in trouble, obviously he got in trouble, and they told him he couldn't touch a computer for, I guess, his whole entire life, which he probably did. He's a really smart guy. But in the same sense, just this idea that it's just kind of crazy that this is a real thing, that he's probably one of those guys who, got in again and was able to boost up that number. Maybe he's that 360-year-old, right? Like how many, like here's the thing, like I wonder how many people are like that, and if a junior high kid could do it back in 1993, I think, I honestly think that, what was it, 93? Yeah, 93, 94, no. Dang it. Yeah, 93. I'm sorry. I just had to sit there. All right, so I have it actually up now. We can actually pull it up here if you want to.
I got it.
Yeah. So I just thought it was really interesting. Now, again, we don't know if all of these people are receiving checks, but
And we can't see the bottom line because we just got to. I don't know if you can scroll or move it or.
oh no, it's only 360 to 369.
Oh no, all we can see on the screen is 249 because the scroller is in the way here. There we go.
Okay.
Look at that. There's one person that could be almost 370 years old. Isn't that amazing? Pedro, you talk about trying not to age all the time and what to do. You know, what the things to eat, all your potions and all this kind of stuff that you have, your snake oils. That is, wait, Pedro, is that actually you? See, he's drinking his potion right now. Some kind of rat's blood right there.
What? What? What are you talking about?
The algorithm just tanked us to the bottom. It's like vampires.
It just literally just dropped. Everybody's like, okay, I'm done. I was hoping for some technical analysis, and these guys are just all over the place. But I just think that's interesting. Yeah. Just the fact is that see, here's the thing for me, and this is what I think is more interesting than anything, is this right here. And I think it's super important to kind of even point out is this from 130, like from 130 to about right here, the average, if let's say this is right, and even half of these people are receiving paychecks, the average Social Security paycheck, if like, let's say you're receiving it, and I understand there's a difference between SSI, disability, SSI for other certain scenarios. I'm just talking about, okay, you reached age to be able to receive your Social Security, you know, and if you waited, you receive more money, right? But obviously, if they're 130 years old and down, I would assume there are a lot of people here, if this is real, that are, and we've seen this now with the USA Aid, where we're giving money to overseas. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and I remember he told me, he goes, well, you know who bailed us out of the Great Recession? And I go, isn't the cartels? And he goes, yeah, but who was in the process? And so he started talking, it was the Democrats who pretty much had the House. They had the, it was under Obama, right?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Great Depression.
No, the Great Recession. This 2008. It's called the GFC, the Great Financial Recession, or the Great Financial,
or whatever, the 2008 disaster.
Yeah, 2008. And so he goes, one of the primary people who really helped us out were the cartels. We actually reached out to them. And so if you think about it, if you look at from a financial standpoint,
I don't believe that, Pedro, that we reached out to drug people to borrow their money.
Yeah, actually, we so Mike Benz.
There's no way that Mike Benz is right about that.
No, Mike Benz. Mike Benz, dude.
I don't know who Mike Benz is.
How do you not know, bro, who Mike Benz is? Who's one of the leading guys pointing out on Twitter that Elon Musk, as well as Joe Rogan, as many other people have brought on to their show. And he goes, here are the line items you can actually go and track. He goes, this is stuff that you can simply just go out. It's Mike, Mikebenz. He was on Joe Rogan recently, but he's been on, and they talk about this. And this is stuff you can actually go through. And because most Americans don't even pay attention to this. So remember how we talked about, and now it made sense to me why they would open up the border, why they would allow such craziness to happen, because maybe they owed them.
Oh yeah, I have seen this guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's a legit dude. He ain't no crazy whack guy that you see on Ancient Aliens. He's a normal dude, normal guy, but he just does deep research and going, no, look, this is where this came. You can see the tracking from here to here. So there's a lot of stuff that he's bringing to light. And potentially, and I'm throwing this out, this potentially could be going to where we're just paying off a debt because our government messed up.
Well, they're going to pay off those guys with bullets now. That's normally what happens with the mafia and stuff like that, is say, yeah, we'll pay you back. There's no problem. Next thing you know, you got a silence 22 in the back of the head. And instead, the cartel guys are going to have the Delta Force coming down.
Or potentially, you say the grassy
Grassy knoll
hill, grassy knoll hill, and then you have some random guy in some blank, undisclosed area that takes a shot and doesn't remember, right? That potentially could happen too. So it's one of those things that I think it's really interesting. And what we're seeing right now with the US going in, and Mexico gave us the go ahead, which I thought was really interesting, to go into Mexico to go handle the cartel. Like that blew me away. I sat there and I was like, oh, wow, like they really are working with us. So it's going to be really interesting. Trump has literally talked about, potentially we might need to make Mexico a maybe potentially 51st state, right? Or some form of where maybe they're like Puerto Rico, where you can, but we obviously would have to build it up. So there's these little things that I'm watching that could potentially affect the markets and hence allow us to actually capitalize on this. If we already know there's so much tech in Mexico where a lot of the immigrants that we would call immigrants that are not tech savvy literally put their money into stable coins so that, and most Americans don't even know what I'm talking about, but like my family, like I told you, I have family down in Mexico, and they'll go through, bro, and they put their money into literally US stable coins so that they can get a good return on their money by staking. Like they
or
understand
just not lose to inflation.
or just not lose to inflation. So there's so many things that it might behoove us as Americans to consider maybe saying, hey, Mexico, let's have a real partnership, right? Canada ain't being cool, right? We got Trudeau and everybody else going, F you, America. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because I mean, you're half Canadian.
There is. Well, let's jump back to the Mexico 51st state thing. It would be. I don't think our economy could handle it.
Absolutely.
Because it would shift. Every last job would move down there for years until it would be at least 2 generations before what would happen is that the cost of living would adjust. Mexico would come up, the United States would come down. Well, the original United States would come down. As we incorporated another, the population of Mexico is what, 180 million? The working class, we'll just call it 100 million or something like that. As we incorporated 100 million people into our economy, the wages would come drastically down in the U.S. They'd go up in Mexico a lot, and it would take a long time to equalize, but it would equalize, and it would be a short-term, meaning 60-year disaster for cost of living that we're used to, or a style of living, as that came down. But for 100 million people, it would be like, woohoo, everything's great. Especially if they brought manufacturing back from China back and it all opened up in Mexico. It would be great.
It would be huge.
In the long term, it would be great. But
it would actually be better for
in at least a full generation, meaning that a full 40 years it would take to integrate that. Because the heavy manufacturing is not quick. I mean, it's a lot of capital. It's a lot of oomph. And frankly, one of the things that's going to happen to Mexico, it becomes a 51st state. All those crazy liberals from California will move down there and say, "Oh, you can't build the stuff here. You're going to kill the green spotted caterpillar."
Bro, the narcos would just be like, "Get out of here." It'd be like,
bro, they'll be dead anyway.
They'd just be like, "Yo, I mean, I'll put it like this: we have whole entire communities that are retirees." Right? Like out of my family's hometown, there's a whole entire 20,000-30,000 Americans who come through and they've retired there with their Social Security. And the amount of money that is brought into the surrounding communities is huge. I mean, it took my family, right, came here in the 70s, illegally, and he, just being honest, right? And he married my mother. They were in love. I popped out, yay, right? But then, hey, but here's sorry. And
okay,
this
Fonzie.
idea, I know, I was just thinking the same thing. But he was an Italian immigrant too, right? Wasn't he? Weren't his parents Italian?
Yeah, you're right. Mr. Arthur Fonzarelli.
Yeah, Fonzarelli. So I put it like this idea that they came, he worked his butt off, and like it's a different story. And I think I just want to add this because I was talking to my cousin yesterday, and I go, he lives in an area that is predominantly immigrants, and the majority of them do have their citizenship. They are, abnormally pro-American. Like it's down in Virginia, and they're very much pro-America. There's one or two liberal cousins, but the majority of them they bleed red, white, and blue. They left Mexico so that they could have a better life. My father and my uncles left Mexico to work their butt off, where they stayed in a house filled with 20 guys so that they can work the fields, where they would make, I think, $5 for like 8 pounds or 10 pounds of apples, or wherever they were doing the migrant working.
Yep.
And then they busted their butt. They sent half of it back home, right, through Western Union to their mother. And then the other part is they worked their butt off, and then they got their citizenship. They built a whole few of them have 4 or 5 businesses now, first generation, the first generation. And then half of those guys all got college educations and are now the 3rd generation or 2nd generation here, right? Is like full on, like, let's go back to Mexico. Wow, I don't want to go to Mexico. Like, I like America. Like, they're, one thing I love talking about my cousin, one of my cousins I was talking to yesterday. He came here at age 17, bro. 17 years old, illegally. To say, he crossed the Rio Grande. Sorry, it's my dyslexia flipping it. and so he works his butt off. Okay. While he's 7, he stopped going to school around 14, 15 in Mexico. Okay. He goes in the workforce. He's in the workforce for about 4 years, 5 years, from like age like 13, 14 to about 17. And I think what was so interesting, or I guess 3 or 4 years, is he's a grown ass man in Mexico. He handles his responsibility. If he overtalks, and is an idiot in Mexico, you'd get beat up. At that age, at 17 years old, you're a grown man. And so he comes here to America. They tell him, you got to go to high school. You're not an adult here.
Right.
He
you
goes,
don't have
what
education.
are you talking about? Not even just education, but you can't even just work. He goes, they won't even hire you where he was at. And so he goes, all right, whatever. So he goes to high school. He sees this girl that he absolutely, like he said, he walked in and he was like, that's a woman I want to marry. And now here's the thing. In Mexico, this is the way it's done, right? And he's in an area where it's predominantly immigrants. So it's a very similar situation. When I mean immigrants, I mean like Mexican immigrants, Salvadoran immigrants. So he comes home, he goes up to her in school and goes, I'm going to marry you. And she looks at him and goes, what? And she goes, how long have you been here in America? And he goes, 3 weeks. He doesn't speak any English. And she goes, you don't even know my name. And he goes, what's your name? And she goes, da-da-da-da-da. And he goes, okay, cool. He goes home that day. He talks to his dad saying, I know the woman I want to marry. Her name is XYZ. She goes to my school. Or he didn't even call it my school because, right. That's not the way they talk. And he goes, she goes to the school you wanted me to go to. And so the next day, he finds out where they work. He goes and talks to the dad. The dad goes, well, this is America. This isn't Mexico. And he goes, how's he going to provide for her? How's he going to take care of her? He's 17 years old. So they sit down, they have a talk between the 17-year-old, who is a grown-ass man. I know it sounds crazy, but he's a grown-ass man because he took care of the family when my uncle was up here working. He worked all day long. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get an education because he had to provide. And what was so interesting, his dad says, if you can provide for her, you can have her hand. I'll agree to it if she's willing to take you on as her husband. They talk to her. She's like, I like him. I want to get to know him, but he's cute, right? And bro, he literally the very next day goes over to Home Depot. No joke. Goes over to Home Depot at 4:30 in the morning to help with loading the lumber. They tell him, get out of here. What are you doing? Get out of here. And he goes, I want a job. The manager comes out after, I think it was like an hour of him still working because he just wouldn't leave. Because, bro, I can't have you work here. You're underage. You're 17. And you're not even have papers. Like, you can't work here. He goes, okay. He then keeps helping. He shows up for 2 weeks straight. At 4:30, he knew all the numbers. He understood where everything went. How he came in during his time off when things were closed and wrote down exactly what things were, translated it into Spanish, and understood. He went through. I'm not joking. When he was not working, he would go to school, then come off. He memorized all of Home Depot, everything, all the numbers where everything was. I'm not joking. He knew that store better than anybody else did. He would walk around, people would ask, and he would talk to them in broken English. Finally, the manager is just like, dude, you're better than everybody else. I'm going to hire you, but we got to figure out a way to get you have papers. Now, this was the mindset of previous immigrants.
Right.
You come on, you show up, you work your ass off. My family doesn't like the current immigrants that are coming over, and I'm calling them the Biden immigrants, because they got handouts. Nobody prior to Mr. Biden's immigrants ever got handouts. If anything, you were the scourge of America until you proved yourself.
That's a good point. That's right.
Whereas this past generation, the Biden administration immigrants, you were given handouts. I remember my uncle was like, who the F are these guys thinking that they can even receive handouts when they haven't even paid taxes on their paycheck? Like, they were blown away, like didn't understand it. Like saying, we left this in Mexico. So it was, I just think it's interesting. How did we get here? I don't even know why.
I don't know, Pedro. I've been sitting here nodding and shaking my head going, okay. Great.
I don't even know. Now I forgot.
Told the story of love, about how the guy saw the lightning bolt and asked the father for a hand. You talked about working like a slave at Home Depot.
Yeah. My boy, dude, is my cousin, man. I love his story, dude. And he ended up marrying her. And then he got so good, somebody saw him over at Home Depot and literally said to him, hey, I want you to come work for me. You're pretty smart. And again, he like literally, he didn't, at the time, he didn't even have his papers. And so he comes over and he goes, all right, I'll give you like a 3-week, obviously they're speaking Spanish, but I'll give you a 3-week like introductory. You just come in, you work both, and just see what you can do here. And you come in, because he restructured everything in Home Depot and some of the stuff that they were doing, and said, this is what you need to do. This is inefficient. And at this time, he's 18 and a half, because I think he worked at Home Depot for 2 years, like 18 and a half, 19. So he goes over there and he starts working at this other processing place, bro, that basically like puts things together. And it's a whole entire warehouse. And he goes through, he restructures it all. He climbs up where he's like third in command. It's a multi-billion-dollar housing unit system. And he memorizes the whole entire system, puts it on paper, doesn't even use doesn't even use the computer. He doesn't really know how to use the computer, but he put it all on paper, memorized, and goes, you guys, this is messing up. This is what you need to do, do this. And like, he became like, you have like the top echelon, and then you have the people who run the actual warehouses and everything. He was the top guy here. And they would all, the owner would come up and be like, hey, so what are your thoughts? And he'd be like, all right, this is what you need to do. He did that for like 10 years. He's finally got his papers, fully got his papers, fully came in like as a legal immigrant, or he's a full legal immigrant. But here's the thing. These are the type of people I think we should have. Like those grinders, the intelligent, I hate to say, but almost the intelligent. And there are a lot of them in Mexico. Why am I still talking about this, bro? Let's just, I'm stuck on it, bro. Let's just move on to the next one. Okay, XRP.
Wait, let's have a quick shout out to everyone over on Rumble. We got 16 viewers over there. Let's hear it for you guys over there. Remember on Rumble, you don't need to pay Rumble in order to watch our show and have an account. You can sign in using Google, Facebook, whatever your login is, and you can hit that like button. And not only that, but if you sign in, everything works a lot better for you because you can write comments and we can interact with you here on the show. So thank you to everyone that's watching us on Rumble. We really appreciate it. Brando Commando. Fire Chicken is missing over there today, but I'm sure he's out and about somewhere. Anyway, Pedro, let's get to XRP here.
Yeah, XRP. Holy crap, dude. I just spent a whole entire monologue the last 30 minutes talking about this, and I shouldn't have even done it.
I know. It was entertaining. I was like, "Where's Pedro going to go with this?"
Bro, you should listen. This is what you're supposed to. You're supposed to stop me, going, "Okay, you're on your tangent. Get over here." This is why you're supposed to jump up in the mix. That's why I have you here with me, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? It's entertaining though. Okay, so XRP here, we saw it come down into our areas right here on February 3rd here. The big sell-off, we saw it kind of come back up. I talked about this area acting as resistance. We didn't even get back up to our resistance area. It's now kind of selling off again. I like this area still at that 230. I still think we potentially could come back down to that 143 area where the 200 period moving average is, but it would have to take a major sell-off happening in Bitcoin to see this happen. So after we get below that 220 area, the next real area is honestly down to here. I'm going to remove this because, well, one, this is why. We had a lower low, lower high, so I would expect a lower low to come down right here, where I would expect us to see it bounce off that 200. The only thing that might hold us here is at that 229 area, which is the 100-day period moving average, sitting right here, which is that yellow line that I am crossing over. So that could hold us here, but I doubt that if we see a major sell-off happening with Bitcoin. So be ready for that in case that does happen. I would almost have a 240 area and then a potential another area for that 140 area for a limit buy there. All right, let's check out TRX. TRX is another one we talked about. It came down to our area here. I told us very specifically, do not buy up at that 45-cent area. Wait for it to come back down to that 19-20-cent area to be ready to buy it. And you can see this is where it came in, which has been nice, but it didn't put in any major higher highs here, as you guys can see. It put in lower highs, and now we're just kind of seeing it consolidate. So lower low, another lower low. So I'd expect us to see either at least come back down, touch the 19-cent area, that 1982 area, and then potentially come and tap that 18012 to the 17060 area. These areas here are another area to be looking. Again, this is all predicated on if we see a Bitcoin sell off. If we see a Bitcoin sell off, expect us to see it come back down here. Now, Doge is really interesting. I thought we were going to see a little bit of push with Doge because back here we saw literally higher volume, but then we saw the sellers starting to come in. We saw seller wicks come in, and now we're continuing down. So the other part behind this is because this one is almost a little lower, right? And what we're seeing right here, right? This is where we're at. You can see we're right at this level here. I expect to see a lower low here real quick with Doge, and seeing it come down to that 20-cent area is one potential buy area, that 18 cents to 20 cents, and then potentially the 14-cent area here as well, simply because if it does see a major sell-off, I would expect it to see it come down into this area. This has already been tapped. This is not a fresh zone. So the next zone would actually be down at this level here, sitting at that 1440 to the 1409 area with Doge. Again, I'm still extremely bullish here with crypto, literally because we always know that before it really explodes, it does have a deep pullback. And people thought that this pullback here was going to be the deep pullback. But I said there's too many buyers at these lower levels here for them just to let go, stop out, and not take that extra cash. Right? They like to come and stop people out, take their stops, and then push it back up. and then you have the exit liquidity up here for them, or if not further. So that's it. So let's check out Matic here. We're watching Matic come down to our lower levels here. I like the huge kind of pullback here with Matic. I'm going to be playing around here because I don't know if it's going to come back down to that 1840 to the 1720. Now, this is off of this chart here. These areas are the chart. If you go to CoinMarketCap and their chart, you're going to be able to sit there and see this. So I like that 18 to 17 cent area here as we're seeing it sell off. Another area, as you see it push through, we want to see it look like this. We want to see it push through, come back out, tap this area, which is going to be right here. Actually, you know what? Let me do this here again. We want to see this type of play here where we see the market sell off, then come back, hit this area as resistance, and then see it come back down even lower. But where we're sitting right now with this area here, I like it. This is 29 cent area is a good little area to be potentially purchasing. Matic, as we're sitting at these lower levels, potentially could see it even push even higher at this level here. So I'm kind of in a mixed feeling here. I don't know exactly what it's going to do, but if it gets below this area with major volume, be looking to be buying, right? Because I don't think that this is going to be what do they call that? A vampire. No,
vampire.
grave. No, is it vampire or is it the blockchains that aren't used much? What are they called?
Orphans?
No, not orphan blockchain. Ghost blockchain.
Ghost chains.
Ghost chains. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a ghost chain. I think because there's just still so much. Granted, it's a great project. They've got a lot of stuff going on, but just not a lot of people use it. So sooner or later, I cannot see a bunch of people wanting to jump on and start using Matic. Like, it's just, granted, like, there's not a lot of people using it, but it's sooner or later, you know, there's going to be somebody who's going to jump on it. There's going to be some meme coin, something that's because there's still a lot of money in Matic. Still a lot of money. A lot of organizations do use it. It's just a matter of time, I think, before somebody does step up and use it. You know, at least that's my view. I can't see it not, you know, as a huge community.
It's cheap. It's got a massive community. It's just for some reason has a management, I shouldn't say a management structure, but a foundation. It's doing a poor job promoting it. I mean, they missed the whole meme coin thing. I don't know why. Nobody's been able to give me a good answer. Now, albeit I haven't asked all the right people about it. I just kind of ask around the internet.
Why isn't he's like the bum on the side of the street. He's like, why isn't anybody using Matic? I'd be like, dude.
I'm just trying to figure out why you turn something upside down to drink it instead of just letting gravity pour it into your mouth. I can't ever figure that out.
Oh, well, there's a lot more to that.
It's like you have to drink it like a beer chugging competition at age 21.
Dude, don't hate me because I chug, bro.
Just sip it like fine wine. Like, ooh, and the smell today.
I am not like you where I stick my pinky up and go.
You have to enjoy it. You put all that effort into making that thing and you don't even enjoy it. You just slam it.
Slam it, baby. Did I ever tell you the story of me? I think it was my senior year. I was in biology. As all of you guys know, I'm not the most educated guy. And I was a sophomore biology I had to take my senior year. They're like, you need to pass this class. So I remember I had this biology teacher. And granted, like I've shown you like what I've looked like. I was pretty muscular in high school. And so I remember I drink water out of the plastic bottles, right? And I remember when I would be so thirsty, bro, I would sit there and I would crush it. I'd be like, right? And I would crush it. And I remember she's in the middle of teaching and she just stopped and goes, I have never seen anybody drink a bottle of water like that in my life. And I go, what are you talking about? She goes, you didn't drink it. You inhaled it. It was like you were taking, I go, I'm thirsty. She goes, yeah, how about you just kind of go like this? And I go, but I'm thirsty. I want it now. And she was like, okay, whatever. And this is in front of the whole entire class. And so I remember just kind of cracking up, like, oh, I don't care. Now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was kind of crazy. But I don't know. Just, is. So I think we got some stuff going on here with Matic that I'm definitely looking to be purchasing it at these levels. If this thing goes below this area, the next area is that 1840 area, potentially 1720 area. So at these levels here, I think we could really see some good. I think we're going to see some good bounces at these levels here if it goes below these areas here. Let's check out a day.
Cardano?
Let's check out ADA with Cardano here. Cardano is actually being really interesting. It's actually showing a lot more strength comparative to a lot of the other major altcoins here, primarily because you can see here we have high, or we have a low, higher low, and look, we got up above this candle in particular right here. We saw it get above it, and then we're seeing it come down, and we're seeing a lot more buyer volume versus seller volume into the seller as it was selling off. We saw that the sellers really they didn't have a lot of conviction. And so now we're coming back down. So if anything, I expect to see ADA or Cardano finding some support at that 70-cent area to the 69-cent area here, literally because of where it sits and how it's actually handling the sell-off with Bitcoin. So I'm a bit more bullish on Cardano simply because of the structure of the sell-off that we're seeing. So there you go. Shout out to Cardano. If it happens to sell below that 69 area, you want to see it potentially come back down to that 57.90 area to the 51.97 area. So it's going to be a nice little area that I like. Now let's check out Solana here. Solana is acting in a really unique way. We talked about on Shogun. Shogun is the guy's name. I talked about on Shogun as the market, and I think this was in November, when the market was coming up into this area here. And I said, expect to see us come down, first of all, into this area here of that 216 to the 211 area. And then the next level would be about, I think right here. And then I think the next, and I talked about this area being here. We hit our first two areas here where we came down back in November and we hit the two buyers. And I talked about us coming back down into this 150, 153 area. Before it hit the 200 period moving average, went back up, put a new higher high in. But here's the thing, it never closed above. And we talked about this area. I go, we've got to close above this area here. We're seeing it push up, but we're not seeing it close above this high here, which was in at that 264 area. And I said, if we can't see it close above it, that means there's real weakness there that can't sustain the rally. So I said, if we start to see more seller wicks, expect us to come down into this lower area. I said, there's nothing to stop us from here to here down at that 153 area. So you can buy in at those lower levels. Sure enough, we saw it come back down. It's coming back down into this area. So I like where we're sitting at right now. We're sitting at that 163 to the 156. So this is an area for me that is definitely a buy with Solana.
It's also behind your head.
Oh, no. All that to say. So you can see here, I like this area for myself. We're falling off of the 8-period moving average. We're tapping that 156 to 163 area. I like this area.
What moving average is that tapping right now? The 200?
That's the 400.
Holy smokes! That's not a good thing at all for Solana.
Well, kind of, because we're at
unless you want to buy, unless you're a buyer.
Yeah, here's the thing. This is where the pullback for the rally up, I think, is coming, right? This is the pullback before the next impulse move up, right? And so I feel like these areas, everybody's emotion right now is being played with. Like, you're like, oh, we're going to the moon. Oh, yeah, we're going to the moon. Oh, I'm just out of this. I'm going to get out of my positions. And where a lot of those positions are sitting right now is right around this area here. Right. And so I think they're going to sell off, stop out a ton of people, people are going to cry, and then we're going to see this thing push up into the next bull run, right? And we're going to see this thing really take off. We're a couple of weeks away from the crypto czar really establishing some forms of rules and regulations that's going to, I think, it's going to really help crypto versus the previous administration with their antics of, what was it, enforced by, I forget.
Enforcement by regulation?
Yeah.
Or regulation by enforcement.
Yeah, there you go, regulation by enforcement. Whereas this is going to be more like, okay, just don't be stupid. Like, don't go around hurt people. And I think, and that's really kind of where the mindset we're seeing this crypto czars going. And so I think they're good principles to really set up laws by and allow for innovation to happen. They're not trying to stop. I mean, David Sack made it very clear on the All-In project, like, look, we just want to see crypto have a framework that's going to allow it to really be able to prosper into the future. And that to me was a huge significance, or a huge statement, significant in the fact that long-term growth is really what they want to see. And to me, that just makes sense, as if I'm a banker and you know that that's what's coming, to sell the market off to pick up more at a lower price before they really start putting in legislation that allow crypto to grow. So that's how I'm looking at it from an institutional standpoint. Boom. Ton. This is one that I thought was really interesting, right? The whole entire Ton coin. We talked about it coming up into that 768 area to that 455 area. We sold off last week, or about 2 weeks ago. We came down into our area of $3, $3.90 area, and actually went all the way back down to $2.90. If this thing takes off and we start to see it, this might be a smart thing to actually, you could pick up, and it's funny, it found the support at this area here, but we're starting to see it come back down even further to that 269 area to the 270 area. So if you're looking to be picking up some Ton and potentially a use for that coin in Telegram, this would be the time that you might want to consider. If we do see more of a sell-off, this area, I personally like this area here, the 260. And if we get down even further, the next area, and I'm going to put this here. It's going to be a monthly here. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. I just went totally quiet there. I guess the next area is right here.
You know what, Pedro, I haven't even heard anything about Ton coin in the past couple of months, really.
Yeah, which makes me think that either it's getting ready to explode, or we're going to see another sell-off area here.
Or what happened is because they started having to, as they say, give people the keys to what's going on in certain areas of the Telegram world. Perhaps they drove a lot of the illicit money out of it, which was probably coming from the Russia and their associated states. That's a possibility. I guess that would show in volume if volumes dropped also.
Yeah, you can see that. We've actually seen a pretty decent drop in volume. But I mean, over the past 3 weeks here, on last month, you've seen major sell-offs. But on the back end, though, I'm looking at this going, like, would it not make sense? I mean, it'd be stupid to let this thing die. When you actually have a coin that could actually govern was it like 1/3 of the population? Is it 2 billion plus people or 3 billion people use Telegram?
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, entire countries just get their news from that because their own news is so unreliable or just only state-sponsored. The news channels on Telegram are massive.
Yeah, dude, that's where I get my news from. Like, honestly, I have like 15 different news sources that whether far left, far right, mid left, mid right, central, like I'm trying to get a wide variety, and you can get it on Telegram.
I know. One of the reasons why is that Telegram so far has resisted copyright things. And so people rebroadcast news channels. People put all kinds of stuff up there, and Telegram's like, hey, those are private channels. We can't govern them. You got to go after the people. Then they say, well, who is it? And we're like, well, we don't know. Sue us in the Seychelles. And I really enjoy the side. We'll just call them the people that support Mr. Putin. They're kind of propagandist channels, and anything bad happens to Mr. Putin's world. And it's so positive in those Telegram rooms. It's like, there could be an earthquake in Moscow, like a natural disaster earthquake. And they would be either like, oh yeah, Ukraine's new special earthquake weapon. And they're going after civilians and killing children. And you're like, no, it was an earthquake, or just anything bad. A train derails and, hits someone's house because the train derailed because the maintenance and the wheels are terrible. And they blame it on the other guys. They attacked it in Siberia, and the Ukrainians are like, why would we attack a train in Siberia carrying, potash? It's like, it's like, come on, guys. Those always entertain me for entertainment. But you're right, though. The Telegram world is huge and massive. In long term, they should be. I'm pointing this way because I got the great graphics machine working again. Toncoin should be a long-term hold, and it should go up. It should become, frankly, it should become a worldwide currency.
That's exactly what I was thinking about, because why would it not?
Well, here's why. Because there are rules that say, oh yeah, well, if you give $5, if I'm in New Jersey, but you're in Pakistan, and I give you $5 on Toncoin, well, you're not a licensed. I'm not a licensed money, or Toncoin's not a licensed money transmitter in New Jersey, so we got to stop it and sue them and all that type of stuff. We got to get out of this licensed money transmitter things. It just there's got to be some other way. But just because I give you value of something doesn't mean somebody has to have a license. I should be able to give it to you directly with any form of payment. Or any form of, I should be able to give you a pile of corn, a pile of Toncoins, Bitcoin, or a pile of dollars electronically without having to report it to someone. It's just ridiculous. And you get the anti-money laundering people going on LinkedIn. Most of them are in Europe. And man, they are like, oh, but my God, someone could avoid 10% in taxes that way. And you're like, okay, well, use your detective work. You don't, Go find the guy that's driving a Ferrari that doesn't pay any taxes. It's real easy to do. You just go down to the Ferrari dealer and watch everyone that goes in, and it's Earl. Well, Earl seemed to have paid $10 billion in taxes. He's good. Jimmy, he pays no taxes, and he drives a Ferrari. Let's look at him. Detective work is easy. You don't need to have everyone in the world report charging $5 to someone. But that's why these things aren't world currencies. And when these stupid rules go away, or they're just unenforceable because there's so many of these things that just, the Attorney General in New York can't do it, then they give up.
Well, and it doesn't help that Trump just fired, what was it, like 10,000, what is it called, IRS agents?
Move them to customs.
Like, right? Like, was that true? I saw that. I didn't really.
Well, there was a lot of. They're eliminating all the probationary employees in the U.S. government. There's like, I don't know, like 400,000. Like your first year working for the U.S. government or something. Whatever the number is, I'm going to get it wrong, and someone's going to get hate thrown my way. I'm going to get the number wrong, but they have no job protection rules, and so they're just like, we need to get rid of everyone we can that doesn't have a job protection, so we can then chip away at other things and all that. Unfortunately, he got rid of a bunch of the probationary people in the National Nuclear Security Administration, which, of course, the internet took as, these are the people guarding our nuclear weapons, and they fired them all. They all worked at Pantex, and if I did contract work for the National Nuclear Security Administration. Pantex is a waste facility. It's where waste goes to be processed and reprocessed into other things. It's not like they got the keys to the guy with the key. We just kicked him out, and then they hired most of them back because they're like, whoops, and they admitted it. They got something wrong. They're like, we got to get rid of all these people, and I bet you $1 million that
cool
the government didn't have those job classifications right in their big system. So when they went through it, they're like, yep, guy hit shift and copy, yep, that job class 2, boop, and then they weren't classified right because somebody was kind of skirting the budget or whatever the story was. But they hired them all back. And if you make mistakes and you admit it, like, we goofed that up, so what? But you're about to show us the number, Pedro, aren't you?
Well, kinda. So here's the thing I thought was really interesting. So Doge's been around for, I think, a month, right? Almost. They have saved $109 billion so far. Okay? I just thought that was absolutely crazy. I'm like, holy crap, dude. Like, $100 billion. Now, granted, like the U.S. total debt is $100 trillion. Okay, so I get it. That's just, what is that, like less? That's 0.5% or point. It's not even a blip.
Yeah, 100 trillion is,
yeah,
I don't know, 10,000 times more than 100 billion.
I get it. Like, again, but in 2 months or in a month, dog. And then they earmarked literally a $4.7 trillion discrepancy that doesn't have the moniker. What do they call that? A treasury something symbol, or was it Axis Treasury symbol?
I don't know what you're talking about.
TSA. It's not TSA. It's the thing that whenever the Treasury sends
pays something, it codes it correctly.
Yeah, the coding system for it. Yeah. There's like a $4.7 trillion.
Pedro, I'm a zero accounting system consultant and partner. Okay. I've been using this certain accounting system for a while. I've helped people do it.
I actually don't know what that is. And I'm not even being.
Have you ever heard of QuickBooks?
Yeah.
All right, Xero is another brand of it. It's online. It's a big accounting system, and okay. I'm one of their partners. I've used the system for a while. I've gotten other people to use it. I'm not an accountant, but by practice, I practically am. In no accounting system in the world that's built since they invented computers, can you not code something so it goes into an account somewhere properly? There's no system.
I don't know what that means.
Let's say my accounting system, say Mrs. Striking, it goes to spend $5 on an apple. I would put in $5, and what is it sending for? An apple. Code it and that would be office expense. And you'd have to put that code in it for where it goes. And that in the accounting system, you can run a report that shows everything you've ever charged to office expenses in a certain time period. And it's the basis of accounting, that money comes into an organization in a business. You sell something, and then you buy stuff to make the product or service, and it goes out of one account into another account, and then it goes to your sales invoice, and then it goes through your company like that. In the government, where's the money start? The printer. So they print the money, and then they say it's in the treasury, or they sold bonds, it's in the treasury, or they collected income tax, so it's in the treasury. And so they say, we're going to buy a new F-35. Well, that's $100 million. All right. We're going to send $100 million to Northrop Grumman or Lockheed. Boop. $100 million goes to them, but they need a code before that money goes anywhere. Before you can do anything in any accounting system in the world, it has to have a proper code. Where's it going and what's it for? Yeah. The fact that the U.S. government has any system that overrides that.
Yes. Bro, how is that? Like, what
it's
is
the
up?
Basics of accounting.
How do you lose $4.7 trillion? That's not earmarked for anything.
Pedro, ask me this question. Just say, Tom, when was the modern accounting system of double entry system invented?
Tom, when was the double accounting thingamabobber created for? When?
1479 by Luca Pacioli. He's a Venice merchant, and as they learned to trade with other groups across the world in which they couldn't just
Organization.
use piles of corn or cattle. They had to have money and currency. Said, we need a better accounting system than just who has the biggest pile of corn. So they came up with the double entry accounting system in which you move expenses through one account and another until it's out of your company. It's been around since the late 1400s. The fact that the US government can't get it right
600 years
means that there's malaise, laziness, there's bad practices, there's lack of oversight, even though every government agency has an inspector general and oversight thing.
Of oversight, like I used
Or
to
it could
always
be intentional. Can be intentional.
I mean, bro, like when you think about Mrs. Previous or ex Vice President Harris, did she really have a hard time closing off the border?
Right.
Right, like, or was she doing
No,
exactly what
everything's
she
working great. TV camera shows 10 million people walking across the border and border agents saying, come on, this way.
Yeah.
Like, no, there's no problem at the border. The TV camera shows that the guys are walking across. No, that's fake news. No, it's right. Here's Elon, live streaming. Oh, that's Elon Musk. He's an extremist. You're like, but no, the video. It's here. Here's ABC, NBC. Oh, there. Fox News is showing. Oh, well, that's Fox News. That can't be true. No, it's live. There's a live truck or guy with the camera. Pedro, we're getting long in the tooth here. We need to wrap this up.
Let's jump back here real quick to what's going on here. All right, so I pretty much kind of went over the top 10 here. Let's go over DOT here real quick. I'm looking down at this loan. We talked about liquidity pool coming into this area here. We came down.
What are you looking at now, Pedro?
This is DOT. So DOT came down over the weekend, or excuse me, not over the weekend. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and we tried to tap this area. I talked about this area being a liquidity trade where we could basically where they're taking people's trades. I'm going to take this off here per se, because it did come down, but it did not. So they absorbed a lot of the sellers already down at these levels here. So I'm going to kind of take this off here and look, and I'm going to discontinue this trade literally because I was expecting us to come down even further quicker. But I think with DOT, I think it could come down to that $2 mark area here. So be ready for that area. Put whatever you want to put there, but just for your own knowledge. I'm looking at that 213, 142 area. For AVAX here, AVAX is showing a lot of weakness in the aspect of it pushing down, but I'm actually watching more buyers actually step into this. So even though the market is going down, it's almost like a pickup of buyers as it's going down. So I expect to see potentially this thing as it's selling off for more buyers to get in at this. So again, this is actually a good thing for us. If you're in AVAX, I expect to see potentially come down to that 21 area. And the other part is that $18 to $15 mark area. This is another area that's potentially a good area to buy as you make money. This is one of those areas I'm going to be looking to pick up some more AVAX here as we're selling off. Litecoin shockingly is actually holding up really well, and it's actually starting to kind of mirror a little bit of Bitcoin in a sense, where it's just kind of holding against the trend of Bitcoin. So for me, you see this little happy face right here? That's a potential good thing. So I'm potentially looking at Litecoin coming back down to this 104 or 104 to 99 area here as I'm looking at it. It's one of those things that I want to maybe potentially buy that Litecoin around that area there. Shiba Inu is looking pretty weak, just simply because we're seeing the sell-off here. I thought we were going to hold above the 8 period and see us peak above and come tap this area into that 2-1 area to the 19 area, but we're showing weakness even coming in. So if you're looking to maybe pick up some more Shiba Inu, I'd be looking to come at the lower level of that 1,000 area here, 40173 potential area here to that 4012 area. So small little area there, but it's already hit that area. So I'm looking to pick up a little bit, and I'd love to see if it came back down to the 501 or 800 area, 508, 5085 ish area. So that's it in a nutshell. Yep. That's about it. I know you were saying we were getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah,
so.
once again, I'm in the central time zone, and I'm looking at my clock here going, oh, it's not 2 o'clock yet, and then we normally kind of close up. And it's long past 2 o'clock.
Yeah, it's like 2:30. Sorry, guys. Didn't mean to talk off your ear here, especially all the antics that I talked about today. But I think it's just really important just to understand that nothing is ever so simple. And to quote a friend of mine, nobody is as smart as the guy who
agrees with you.
Exactly. So please comment in our section, on the comment section here. Tell us what your thoughts are. We talked about a lot of things today that were pretty, what's the word I want to use? I won't say divisive, but just our hot topics right now. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts about it. Obviously the immigrant situation is different today versus even 10 years ago. Right, like a lot of times we want to sit there and lump everything and say, oh, it's all the same when it's not, right? Or Tom, when you're talking about the ledger system, right? How can we have $4.7 trillion? Was it 4.7 or 4.1 trillion?
But whatever.
Yeah, like whatever, like that. We'd love to know your guys' thoughts on that. Elon Musk. I want to go over Grok 3 here tomorrow. Because I've been using it. It's actually a lot better, dude. Have you messed with it at all?
I've only asked it a couple of simple things there, like Trump's age and something else.
Oh, I love it. I've been using it a little bit more, so I really like it. And then, are we going to be doing the AI Live Thursday again?
It's a Wednesday show, so we're supposed to do it tomorrow. Had everything been working right, I would have been showing the show schedule up here. Tomorrow morning, ladies and gentlemen, at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, a new episode of The Swamp Creatures out, another one of their 10-minute vignettes on their long reporting about the transition from the Biden administration to the Trump administration and the various things going on with the appointees and the new councils and crypto and all that. Should be a good episode, so tune in for that. And also tomorrow afternoon, we'll have a new episode of the AI Life for you, in which Pedro and I and Steve Rodrigue from Legit DAO and Legit Foundation, whatever you want to call it nowadays, come talk about on how the show is really exciting for me. It's essentially making you realize that AI is going to be a part of your life, and not just our lives, but every human for the rest of eternity. Until there's no electricity. Until there's no electricity anymore and there's no power, and humans go live in caves again, AI will be with us and helping run our lives. And the possibilities are frankly endless and amazing. So tune in for the AI Life tomorrow. Pedro and I are going to be reworking things here soon with now that some clarity has been coming out from the Trump administration, and specifically David Sachs with the crypto czar and all of that. And so we're going to be introducing a new show called Trade Wave coming up, in which we're going to have an app for you guys to follow trades on us on it. We're still in conceptual thing. We don't have it all figured out yet. And so we'll be
as well.
Right. So we're gonna divide our shows up into Tom and Pedro talk, waka waka waka, and then short hits with trading and all that, and lots of trades to do so everybody can make all the fat cash that Pedro is making right now. And we have a lot of causes apparently we have to support other than Tom's bank account too.
We're gonna look. I want to give you guys options to give money away, especially to orphans, especially to people who are been widowed in other countries, or people who are just in downtrodden. Because here's the thing, man: if you're not blessing other people with, and I don't make a ton of money, but I trade consistently. And being a consistent trader is one of the most important things, I think, in anything in consistency. But if you're consistently making money, you don't need to sit there and make a ton of money. I mean, $100,000, $200,000 every year, and where you can, having a small amount of, have a small income where you need to live off of, right? Like live off of, $40,000 or $50,000. and and then scale it where you can give money away to help a lot of people. I think is just so important. One of the biggest issues I think in America is that we live so far above our means that, like crypto banter, right? Like he went out and he bought $1 million home when I was like, bro, why would you buy a good sized home, but you don't need to buy a multi-million-dollar home off the, I don't know. I think you should be able to give them
Pedro,
at least
what's the one of the things that you talk about here all the time, keeping the whole economy going?
People buying stuff. Yeah.
People buying expensive homes, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, no, Pedro, we get you. We get it. You are altruistic and want to help everybody out, and so
I want to call myself altruistic.
We'll make sure that happens as well. But we're switching everything up here, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, we'll be here tomorrow with the Crypto Swamp Creatures in the morning, and the AI Life in the afternoon. So everyone, we'll see you tomorrow. So be there.
See you guys.
Oh, let's see if this works. Oh, it's not working. This file does not have any configuration. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's supposed to be the bong DYOR. See you tomorrow.